My name is Joelle, and I spent the summer in Sanibel, Florida through the Doris Duke Conservation Program. I helped a graduate student mentor with his research on the island. Essentially, rice rats and conrats are being negatively impacted by anthropomorphic changes, such as fire suppression and the removal of water fluctuations between the wet and dry seasons. So he's trying to see where the rats are living and why they're living there. In addition to these changes, the introduction of black rats may be affecting the native species, so I worked on an individual project using data collected from Sherman live traps. To monitor distributions of each species, 25 Sherman live traps were set on each of 54 grids. Grids were run for 4 consecutive nights during the summer and winter for the past 2 years. I'll be using an occupancy framework to determine if the presence of any one species is affecting the probability of occupancy of any other. It was truly the experience as a whole that was most memorable for me. So much of it was new. I was in a new place, living with new people, doing a new job. While everything was so different, I had a lot of fun adjusting to this new environment. I also felt like I gained a lot from this summer, both in the field and off of it. I learned so much about small mammal trapping and definitely got better at it as the summer progressed. Our mentor took time in the field to teach us, so I gained a better appreciation for relationships within the environment and how people can play a role. I also feel that I understand better how research is important to conservation and management. We had some interesting experiences together, like getting the truck stuck and climbing through trees to get to grids, so there's never a dull moment in the mangroves. These are some experiences I'll keep forever, and they didn't stop when we stopped working. We lived in the same trailer, so we ended up doing a lot together. We made dumplings, we made a cake for our mentor's birthday, we watched a lot of movies. It usually takes me a long time to warm up to strangers, but working and living so closely with the other two people really sped up this process for me. Something I learned is that fieldwork can be pretty challenging physically but also mentally. I was not even part of designing the experiment, which comes with its own headaches, and I wasn't there for the first field season, during which all the kinks had to be worked out, but I still had my share of mental work to do. For example, you're dealing with the heat, and then you get lost on the grid, which is frustrating, but once you find your way out, it feels like such an accomplishment. Even though at times like this, I often felt like it was a mistake I shouldn't have gotten into in the first place, I was proud of myself for handling it. I think the people you work with are very important for deciding how the work will go. For example, if our mentor hadn't been so patient or hadn't explained things so well, doing the small mammal trapping would have been much more difficult. As an individual, it's just as important to not be annoying and to try to get along with your coworkers. And then I knew this on some level, but this experience definitely ingrained in me that it's always a good idea to ask for help. You obviously don't want to ask stupid questions that just waste people's time, but if you have a genuine concern, you should share it. More often than not, the person you're with is happy to help you, and maybe they went through a similar experience in their first time doing this type of work. Also, it's always better to make sure you're doing something correctly than to be doing it wrong and only have the opportunity to correct it when your supervisor catches you doing it incorrectly. In this field particularly, you could be endangering animals or messing up research if you don't, so ask for help. Before this summer, I tended to hesitate before doing something I might feel a bit uncomfortable with. Like, maybe I didn't want to get messy, or was afraid I'd look stupid doing it. Even if it was something I would eventually do, and I knew exactly what needed to be done, I'd put it off, at least a little. Now, I'm much more willing to just do things. I'm still very much someone who is not comfortable talking freely with strangers or even people I don't think I know well enough, but even so, it's easier for me to approach people and ask for help, or just to talk. This may seem very simple, but I think being able to talk to others in your field is so important that I feel this is where I've made the most significant improvements. My best piece of advice for people who will be joining this program next year is to not worry if you feel unprepared. You were chosen for a reason, and the people running this program will not let you fail. You'll always have the help you need to do well. As long as you keep an open mind, I don't think it's possible to walk away without getting something.